Okay, let's get baking here. What you're gonna wanna do before you start baking anything, and for you experienced bakers out there, this is a no-brainer, obviously, but it's getting your ingredients measured out in advance. It just makes life that much easier, and more importantly, it makes cleanup that much more easy for the whole family. Okay, so what we're gonna do is you'll have a list of the full ingredients here, but what I have is measured out the dry ingredients to one side. So I've got 2 cups of flour, I've got a ½ teaspoon of baking soda, I've got a teaspoon of salt, and I also have 2 teaspoons of baking powder. What we're gonna do is chuck all of that into a large bowl. Then from there, what we always want to do here is just give that a little bit of a mix. We don't want big clumps in the flour. It's not a big deal for tea biscuits.
Again, very basic recipe. This is, I don't know if you watched MasterChef this season. I
am.
You are? Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah.
So I did these tea biscuits on episode 1. And they're my mom's recipe. They didn't show the judges commenting on, other than saying they were too big, but they loved them. And this is one of those recipes that I really, really love. It's really easy, but I find dessert-wise, I tried to do fancy desserts before, and that's not dessert.
Beautiful blueberry shortcake here that is just so delicious, really easy, and who doesn't like a blueberry shortcake? So this is going to be the first part of it, is this tea biscuit that we're making. So again, flour, salt, baking soda, baking powder, and I'm missing something. Baking soda, baking powder, salt, flour. Yeah, we're good. We got it all there. So we're gonna get all of that into a ball, step 1. I'm gonna take my spatula here and just make a little bit of a well in the center of that flour mixture. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna add in the cold.
Totally frozen on my side. As long as it's cold, that's all you're looking for. So what I do, there's different schools of thought of how to do it. This is just how I was taught how to do it, is I'll cut off a ½ of a cup of the cold frozen butter. And then what I use is I just use like a box grater, like a cheese box grater, and grate that up. And it works really, really well that way.
You're doing a great job. Yep.
Pop that into the mixture. You're gonna wanna make sure that this butter is quite cold. It just helps with the cooking and creates nice air pockets that we're looking for in this beautiful shortcake. So obviously shortcakes are traditionally used with strawberries. I like it with blueberries. It's a fun addition. It's still, I just love blueberries. Anytime I can find a way to cook with them, I always try to do that. So give that a quick little mix there. So we wanna incorporate, make sure all of that butter is totally covered with that flour. From here, make that little well.
Is we can add in about a tablespoon or even a capful of white vinegar. So this is really cool what we're doing here. So essentially what the vinegar will do
I don't know if that tastes like cheese.
is curdle the milk.
You put the vinegar right in? Oh, in the milk.
Just right into the milk. So watch this, it's super cool. So just watch it, you'll see it actually start to curdle. So you'll see it all kind of coagulating and getting almost like chunky. So what we're doing now is creating buttermilk. So it's separating kind of snack. So you'll see it's just starting kind of like get a little bit chunky. You can let that sit there for a minute or 2.
Pour that buttermilk or that milk directly into the well and then give this a little stir. You don't worry too much about it. We just want to see a shaggy dough start coming together. So you can see how that's incorporating. It's starting, the flour's absorbing the milk. You don't want to overwork it. And whenever you're cooking with short crusts like this or pie doughs, I always like to use a spatula of sorts or a wooden spoon instead of using your hands too much, because you really don't want this dough to get overworked or get too warm, and you really don't want that butter to start melting. So that shaggy dough's starting to come together. So what I'm going to do now is pour that out onto the counter. Even if you are a non-baker, this is something I'm very confident that we are going to pull off together, and you'll be able to show all of your friends. Okay, so we can see quite a shaggy dough here. So what I'm gonna do is with my hands, bring that together. The thing with making any sort of dough, you have to trust your fingers. A lot of it just comes with experience. You want this dough to be damp, but not wet. You definitely don't want it to be dry, but totally dry. So just if it feels a little too dry for you, if it's too crumbly, add in a tablespoon of milk. If it feels a little too wet, a little sprinkle of flour will go a long way. It really depends where you're located, the humidity in the air, the temperature, the flour you're using. But with this recipe, you should be pretty good. So that dough's looking really good. And you can see I've got it rolled out into a nice disc here. So this gets really, really fun. And this, again, we're gonna be doing shortcakes, but this is just a tea biscuit recipe that I use all the time. It's my mom's. Please enjoy it and make it for your family as well. You could put shredded cheddar cheese, some jalapeno in this, and make amazing breakfast biscuits. So I'm just gonna grab my rolling pin here, if I can find it. There we go. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to roll this biscuit dough out into a rectangle. This is very cool. The goal of a tea biscuit is obviously to get those beautiful layers. So that's what we're gonna create right now. So grab your rolling pin.
Here, anything will do. That infused bottle of maple syrup would probably work perfectly as a rolling pin.
I do have a rolling pin.
And then what I'm doing here, I'm just rolling it out in one direction. So I'm rolling towards you and back and forth. We're gonna make it kind of long.
I have a beautiful rolling pin.
Oh, nice. 1/2 inch thick right now, out this way.
Okay.
So now what we'll do next, and this is what will make those like beautiful layers that we're looking for. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab the end of the dough that's rolled out, that's closest to you guys. So furthest away from you. And you're gonna fold it like you'd fold a letter. So I'm gonna take that end that's closest to you guys and fold it to the middle. I'll kind of lift that up just so you can kind of see. So I've got it just folded. This end, I just folded into the middle. Like so.
Yeah.
And then,
And we did that. We folded it into the middle.
so now I'll take the end closest to me and fold it over that fold I just made.
So you're going to fold it in again from your end.
Well done.
You don't have to worry about ever having any competition.
Ours is a little sticky at the moment.
Take a little more flour if it is, just a touch more flour in there. You don't want to get it too dry, so don't worry too much.
We've got this little letter that could sit beautifully in an envelope. I'm gonna lay that back down. I tend to flip it over. And I'm gonna grab that rolling pin again, and I'm going to roll this out and repeat. We're gonna repeat that 3 times. So this is gonna give us those beautiful flaky layers that we're looking for. Okay, so same thing again. I'm gonna grab the top flap right here, fold it to the center, give that a little press, grab the bottom flap, fold it up over, and then same thing, flip it over, and we're gonna do it 1 more time. So we've got that dough totally rolled out now. So what I'm gonna do,
I like cutting them into like rectangles. I've got a knife here. I'm gonna cut it directly. What would this be?
He's gonna. Do you want to do those? Do you want to do a couple of those?
Yeah, that's a great call too. So I would say cut these in any way you want. I might do rectangles. I've done a few different shapes here.
Yeah, let Claire do one of those. For if she wants, you want to do 2 of them. What are you doing? She has a maple leaf cookie cutter.
Oh, nice.
She wants to do those. Oh,
That's
yeah.
ideal.
And then a big rectangle.
I'm gonna cut these into like little squares.
and if you have parchment paper, put that on there just to avoid any sticking. I've got these baking pads that work really nicely as well. So I'm just gonna grab that baking sheet and I'm just gonna place these biscuits directly on to the baking sheet, and I've got a baking pad here, so if you have parchment paper, would be lovely. If you don't, just spray the pan, you should be fine. So that's what we're looking at. You can even see the layers right there. Isn't that cool? As they bake, you're gonna see that rise. So what's making this all rise is the baking powder, baking soda, as well as those layers. You're gonna see how this rises up. So one last step, and this is just like a nice thing to do, I like to do, is this will encourage those beautiful brown tops to these tea biscuits, which just make them that much more delicious. So what I do is I take a little bit of that milk that we would have put in earlier, and you could even infuse this, add some maple syrup into the actual milk itself, just to give it extra sweetness. But you're just gonna wanna brush the top of the biscuits just to encourage more browning. If you don't have one of these pastry brushes that I have, you could just use some paper towel, dip that in there, and just brush that over the top. Again, this is a lovely thing. You can make this into breakfast sandwiches. They're super, super delicious. Get creative on what you actually put into the tea biscuit dough here. You really can't mess this up. So get creative and again, follow your creativity. So these are ready to go. I'm gonna put these in the oven for 15 to 17 minutes or until those tops are beautifully golden brown. So into the oven we go. And next up, blueberries. Okay, next up, we're gonna start kicking on with this blueberry sauce. I love blueberries. It's one of my favorite ingredients to cook with, bar none. Nova Scotia wild blueberries cannot be beat. So what we're gonna do here is get your pot over medium-high heat. As soon as the biscuits go in, I'd suggest get cracking on with this. You could even do this in advance as well if you want to. So I've got this, I'm gonna turn this on in a moment here, but the fan's so loud you might not be able to hear me. But what I'm gonna do is put in the 2 cups of blueberries into the pot itself. Pop those in. Then next up what I'm gonna do is I've got some Van Dyke's blueberry juice. Just as I wanna add more blueberry flavoring here. Don't go too crazy with this because you don't want it to get too watery and too liquidy. I've got about a tablespoon and a half of that blueberry juice, and then maple syrup for sweetness, as much as you want. I'll probably put in a tablespoon or 2. This will also help with congealing it and giving it that beautiful body that like a coulis or a blueberry sauce really likes. So what we're gonna do here is let that come up to a bubble. Keep an eye on it, continually stirring every now and then just to make sure it doesn't burn on the bottom, but let that reduce for probably 10 to 12 minutes, and it will turn into the most beautiful blueberry sauce. This is amazing for pancakes. It's beautiful for these this shortcake that we are making, but something that I use a lot, even on top of cheesecake. It's super easy, it's delicious, and you don't have to pound in a bunch of sugar to make this taste wildly delicious. Way to elevate this flavor a little bit more is if you have a little bit of lemon juice, a pinch of salt will just make those flavors pop that much more. So again, let this bubble away on the stove while we're getting the whipped cream ready. This will be ready to rock in about 10 minutes. So without further ado, let's get cracking on the whipped cream. Dead easy here. I'm gonna get my KitchenAid ready. I'm gonna grab the cream from the fridge, and then we can whip up this cream because we are almost ready to assemble and, more importantly, eat these blueberry shortcakes coming at you. Okay, we're ready to rock here. The blueberries are bubbling away. I'm gonna move to the back here and get whipping this whipped cream. Obviously very easy to do. You could do this by hand if you have a hand mixer or a KitchenAid mixer like that. I'm gonna add a cup of whipping cream or just cream into the mixer itself. I'm gonna add just a pinch of vanilla extract and then some more of that maple syrup for sweetener. So no sugar added, we're just gonna use that maple syrup for that sweetness and give it that extra little maple flavor that we all love. So I won't make you listen to this whole thing, but just go ahead right now and whip up that whipped cream. We are seconds away from being ready to dig in. Okay, we're in good shape now. We've got the blueberry sauce all done. You can kind of see that's reduced. As it cools, it will congeal more and more. We've got our maple whipped cream ready to go. I've got the vessel ready to rock. I'm gonna grab the tea biscuits out of the oven right now. Let's see how they're looking. Oh, baby. Like, if that doesn't make you happy, I really don't know what will. Those are arguably one of my favorite things in the world to eat. There, you can see the layers just coming off there. That's when I cut them in that square, you kind of get that opening that's so dramatic. I just love it. But if we open this up, you can see those layers. Watch for the steam. Oh, yeah. I mean, come on. What is better than that? Literally nothing. Okay, so we're good to go. Again, you could make all of this in advance if you're having guests over. A very easy thing to whip up. You could make this the night before and eat it for breakfast if you wanted to. So to build these is very simple. I
always start compost first. And I would be definitely using some maple syrup on this. I always finish with maple syrup, but I'd say stack it up along the way. Scoop of cream on top of that.
Some cream on top of that.
And then I do tops. And then I'm gonna go with a little bit more of these blueberries.
Yeah. There's some more blueberries on the top.
And then I'll finish with some Nova Scotia maple syrup.
And then I'm going to put some, there you go. I'm going to drizzle a little bit of lavender and chai on the top.
So does that change the color? Is that like a darker?
It's a darker syrup, but it doesn't change the color.
Yeah.
No, it looks just
So
like maple syrup.
You will steep that. Is that how it works? It just like bring the maple syrup up to a temperature and steep it?
Yep.
Perfect.
Yep, we infuse it, is what we call it, our terminology. But yeah.
Oh, great. And that's it. Nothing fancy. That's a good little snack.
It looks delicious.
That is looking so delicious. That is the kind of dessert I love. I'm not one of these kind of people that want like a tweezer dessert. I want something that reminds me of my childhood, that just respects and elevates the amazing ingredients, these blueberries I can't wait to dive into. I appreciate all of you cooking along. I just love farmers. Again, I appreciate you guys so much. I hope you make this at home. I hope it becomes a family staple. And again, I thank you all for having me. It was lovely getting to know so many of you. So all the best. Dig in. Let's see how it is.
Though.
Yeah, I think it'll be good. I don't even know where I put my spoon.
Oh.
What do we think?
Oh my gosh. That is so good.
You guys rocked it. That was all you. You guys rocked it.
That's so good. It wasn't all us.
That was all you. It was all you.
How are we doing, folks? Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it very, very much. My name is Andy Hay, and I'm a chef of sorts, I guess, here in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. I spend a lot of my time cooking on the internet. That's where you can generally find me, there or on MasterChef Canada, where I right now am battling it out in MasterChef All-Star. So that's super exciting. You can check that out. But I love this. It was so awesome to get to meet everyone. I love this recipe. We did blueberry maple shortcakes. It's easy, but don't be fooled. It is still very, very delicious. But it was great getting to meet everyone, and we've got some amazing farmers from across this amazing province on here with me as well. So what I might do is just go down the line here and throw it over to each of you to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your business, and then we can chat it out. So Anna, I'll throw it over to you if you want to do a brief introduction to start things off.
Sure. Thanks a lot, Andy. Anna Hutchinson, owner of Hutchinson's Maple Products in Lake Paul, Nova Scotia. We're a certified organic producer of maple syrup. We have about 60,000 taps, so we produce over 75,000 liters of maple syrup every year. We're deep into our season right now, so things are really busy here with this warm weather that everyone's enjoying. We are definitely in full production right now.
Awesome. It was awesome cooking with you.
You too. I really enjoyed it.
We had a great chat. And then David, over to you. Live from the tractor.
Yeah. Look at the blueberries in the background. Awesome, eh? Yeah, no, I had a great time. Thank you so much for it too. The girls had a blast. They're in school, so they're not able to be here today. But no, it was really good. I'm in Southampton, Nova Scotia, owner operator DR Atkinson Farming Limited. I've been in wild blueberries for my whole life, and this time of year we're scouting the field, getting ready. It's really early this year with most of the frost out of the ground, so I think we're going to get a jump ahead stuff
Nice.
as soon as the buds start coming out. And yeah, no, it's a beautiful spot.
Amazing. It was great cooking with you and your family. And then Victor, how are we doing? Oh, you might be frozen. Well, Victor, if you pop back in, you jump in whenever you do. I see that he's out on the deck enjoying the spring weather, so must have lost some connection there. So that's great. Again, this was a really fun time. I love talking and learning about farm businesses across Nova Scotia. I find it so fascinating. Anna, one thing that has stuck in my head, I still owe a checkout on the cart, is the infused maple syrups. Maybe just give a quick chat about that, because I thought that product was really, really interesting.
Well, quite a few years ago, we came up with a different product besides just maple syrup. Of course, we do our regular maple syrup and we love it, but we didn't want to compete with all the other maple syrups on the store shelf. So we came up with a line of pure infused maple syrups. So we have 5 different flavors. We have a vanilla cinnamon star anise, which is the one I used in the whipped cream. Then we have a cinnamon nutmeg clove, a lavender and chai, which is the one I used mixing with the actual blueberries when we did the blueberries. And we have a gastrique, which is an apple cider vinegar and ginger. And we also have a chipotle and lemongrass, which is a beautiful addition to any fish, salmon, or meats as a finisher. So we have a great little lineup used right from breakfast right through to dinner. So
I love it.
I do a little bit of everything.
I was chatting with a chef friend of mine today. We're going to be doing a pop-up in a couple of weeks, and we just started talking about different things. And then I told them about that chipotle and lemongrass. We both want to try it on fried chicken so badly because I think it would be absolutely spectacular. But that's great. No, it's great learning about your business. It's amazing to see the export that the business is doing around the world. Really fascinating. So yeah, I appreciate you talking through that. And David, the world of blueberries. Is it fair to say that the blueberry is Nova Scotia's official fruit?
Yeah, definitely.
Are berries fruit?
And you got to emphasize the wild. That's the biggest thing. That's what the world needs. That's what the world needs to know. Because we're all low. It's all low. Like, look behind me. It's all low ground up in the rolling hills of Nova Scotia. It's just absolutely beautiful. Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. No,
so just for people that might not know, what are the difference between a wild blueberry and because the major ones are the ones off the bush are larger, and then the wild ones are smaller. Correct? Is that the main difference? What classifies them differently?
Yeah, we're in field, so we're probably, I guess a typical would be 6-8 inches high is what you're trying to grow the vine at, and the high bush blueberries, they're a lot bigger. They're not quite as sweet, and they're in a higher bush, like 6 feet or so. So there's a lot more handwork. Yeah, and we're able to machine harvest most of our ground, remove the rocks. It's all wild, so we bring it right out of the forest. So you can't plant it. So it's pretty amazing, and we're in this area in Eastern Canada and United States, in the northern United States, and that's the only spot in the world. So it's absolutely beautiful for sure.
I love them. They're one of my favorite ingredients in the world to cook with.
Yeah, and wild blueberries are where most of us are on a 2-year cycle. So you have 1 year where you try to grow the buds, you fertilize the field, manage the fields, and then the following year we rent bees and we come in for pollination. And then and we harvest in August. So if anybody's around in August in Nova Scotia, like the time change, you have about probably a 4-week window, roughly 4 to 6 weeks in August, early September for our area. So yeah, if anybody's ever about, that's the time to. There's so many local farmers around. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Awesome. And Victor, are you back? We might be having a little bit of internet connectivity there, but that's all right. Victor, can you hear us? He moved inside, but I think the Wi-Fi might not be working perfectly there. And Victor's from Oulton Farms. Myself and Victor and his wife had an awesome time cooking, chatting through. We talked to actually, Anna, a lot about maple and their different products there. I'm a massive fan of their pork and their Martok. I've actually got a chicken in the oven from Martok Glen right now that I can just smell wafting in here. So it's delicious. They work incredibly hard. So I appreciate chatting with them. So Anna, where could someone purchase your products from?
So all of our products are located online. So hutchinsonacres.ca, you can buy everything that we sell, including the infused line. We sell our regular maple products at all Sobeys stores. And our pure infused line, as well as our maple products, are available in quite a few of the independent stores, farm markets, Avery's, the Pete's stores, lots of local little places in the city. Yeah. All over Nova Scotia. We're all over Nova Scotia and all over the world, like you said earlier. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And David, you harvest and farm, and then does that get handed off to like a larger distributor? Do you work with Oxford Frozen?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so we harvest in around our area. It's about the middle of August to the tail end of August.
Yeah.
And then as soon as we harvest, within 24 hours, we get the fruit to the processing plant in Oxford, and then they do the quick freeze and clean, and then they ship all over the world. So any local groceries around, they're moving everything all over the place. So it's
Makes
excellent.
total sense.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's a lot of people are they kind of, when you look at the frozen side, they don't realize how fresh it is, because as soon as it's picked, it's frozen immediately. So you have a really good opportunity, and that's something that we got to get out there too. That it is, there's no spoiling for sure.
Absolutely. So David, was farming in your family? How did you become a farmer, and what do you love about it?
Yeah, no, my parents had the farm originally, and when I started, my neighbor helped me, and we were working in the field all by hand. We used to scoop by hands and pick by hand, and then I started getting into the tractors. And at 18, I saw a lot of the local people around driving tractors, and I was thinking, well, that's something I'd like to try. So. And I do a little bit of excavator work, so I do a lot of like leveling and removing the rocks and so on. So I started out small with a few small tractors and worked up into bigger machinery to cover the ground and do less compaction, because we can't cultivate or do anything to the ground. It's, if we destroy it, it's gone. So we got to really be mindful of that. So
yeah, absolutely. That sustainability piece is so important.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's, and I've absolutely loved it. It's peaceful and quiet, and with COVID now too, living in the country is the best thing. So
yeah, it's a good option for sure. I think people are seeing that it's a really good option. Oh, that's great.
For sure. Yeah.
And Anna, one thing that I found really cool, and maybe some people watching would, is just the international market for Nova Scotia maple syrup. One of the main markets that you told me about kind of blew my mind. I thought it was super interesting. It'd be kind of interesting to hear a little bit more about the export strategy, who's buying maple syrup around the world, because I think a lot of people think it might just stay in North America, but that's not the case. So where are you seeing the taste buds for maple syrup starting to bubble up?
Actually, the Middle East. So in the Middle East, they're really sweet lovers there. They love anything sweet. They love candy. They love anything like that. So it is really grown in the Middle East. So we have a very large market in Saudi Arabia that we look after. And we're also in Europe. So we're in the Netherlands. We have markets in Costa Rica. So it is interesting. It's kind of a real broad spectrum of where maple syrup is going.
Yeah.
But it is loved all over the world. The Pure Infused line even has been exporting into Europe, and they love it there. Europeans really typically buy with their taste as opposed to with their eyes. And so then once they've tasted it, they love it and they keep coming back for it. So yeah, we are definitely worldwide. We are enjoying tremendously exporting all over the world.
I love it. That's so cool. I find maple syrup such an interesting ingredient that I think for the longest time I just took for granted, where you just assume it's everywhere and it's kind of a staple of anybody's pantry. But it really is something that is an incredible ingredient that I just love.
Oh, it can be used for so much, right? I mean, right from breakfast to dinner to cooking with it. You know what it's like to cook with it. It's a beautiful addition to cooking, to an alternative to not natural sugar. So if you want to sweeten something up naturally, just throw some maple syrup in it. We 100%. Have a little cafe here now. So we have a little drive-through cafe. And we're sweetening all our coffees and espressos and lattes with our maple syrup. Why not? It's perfect.
You see such a big trend now in food in general, moving towards plant-based, reduced sugar, and so many of the recipes that I see that kind of follow that general path are all using authentic maple syrup from Canada. So it's great. I love seeing the growth that you're experiencing.
Sure.
That's fantastic. That's super fantastic. Some amazing Nova Scotia products. I just love it. I love waving the flag of Nova Scotia because I think it's just so cool what you guys do. And the fact that it's touching around the world is pretty cool. I mean, the blueberries would be the same sort of thing. I'm assuming that there's probably demand for those around the world. So I love what you're all doing. It's fantastic. I'm just going to check the comments here to see if there's any questions popping up. This one might be for me. What's your favorite dish to make with your? Or no, we can go through and I'll even add this. As far as using your own product at home, whether it's blueberries or maple syrup, what are some of the go-tos for your family when you guys are using your own products?
We
Well,
make a lot. Oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead, David. No,
Yeah,
go
we-
ahead.
We make a lot of smoothies. That's our biggest thing. So it's something quick. You can just add in anything you want.
Yep.
So that's our biggest go-to for sure.
Totally.
Yeah. We
Totally.
eat some desserts, but I mainly try to get the girls outside and play, and that's for sure.
Good for you.
There's so many different variations that you can add the wild blueberries too. So
Absolutely. Anna, what about you?
Well, for me, I have one bottle of each of that Pure Infused line in my refrigerator. So if I want a salad, you know what? We use the gas streak. If I'm cooking a salmon, I am glazing it with the chipotle and lemongrass.
Totally.
And then everyday breakfast, we had French toast this morning. So the vanilla cinnamon star anise is my favorite on breakfast.
Oh.
But in everything that we cook, it seems to always seem to find a place. And like David said, blueberries, so smoothies. I mean, I make smoothies and I put lavender and chai in there as the sweetener. So it's really nice.
Yeah, it's a very it's a product you can use really on anything, and it really is amazing. I love the balance of sweet and salty when I'm cooking. Sweet, salty, spicy. I love it. I kind of got into cooking when my wife and I were traveling in Southeast Asia. Oops. So they balance so many different flavors. Like it's a lot of spicy and sweet and sour and bitter. And I find that I love using maple syrup to infuse that kind of Canadiana into some of these international style to cuisines. I know for me, like as far as maple syrup, it kind of combines both. I and my daughters, I've got a 1.5-year-old and a 4.5-year-old who are obsessed with pancakes. So I make like a gluten-free oat flour pancake that are always rammed with blueberries and just swimming in maple syrup. So yeah, they're both big fans of both products here in our house for sure.
Yeah, we do a lot of that too. We do a lot of that. That's so good. And with maple syrup, I use it in my coffee. I don't use sugar ever. I use it, and it's
very
so
cool.
good. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's a lovely. I also find with maple syrup, anytime I cook it, it makes me think like old school Sugar Shack sort of thing. And I'm picturing like how it's being processed. And I always figure that there's like a wood fire being burned close by. So I always try to think of these elements of how is it being harvested? How would it be like eaten in its most like rustic format? And then how do you incorporate those elements outside of just what's on the dish? So I always try to like infuse different smoke flavors into it. I love the combination of bacon and maple. I think is one of the great things in the world. Those two together. Yeah, really, really great. Well, I really appreciated getting to know you both, to get to cook. I don't get to do that very often, so it was great to learn more about your business. And just I thank you both for being such amazing ambassadors of Nova Scotia. Let's grow, and make sure the rest of the world knows who we are and what we're all about. So thank you both so much for your time, the energy, and it was awesome baking with you both.
Well, thank you, Andy. I truly enjoyed it, and I'm really happy that you're promoting all of our products that we produce here in Nova Scotia.
Anytime. It makes my job easy.
Yeah, and good luck on MasterChef. We're watching.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the girls had a blast, and thank you so much for involving them too, because it's definitely been amazing.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah, it was fun. They have great energy, and you could tell that they were loving exploring in the kitchen. So that's always exciting. So
yeah,
good for you for getting them in there. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks you both so much. I'm sorry we weren't able to get Victor on here, but that's technology, I suppose.
Technology.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you both so much. Have an awesome day. And David, I guess you can fire back up the diesel engine.
Yeah, I know. Look at the background. This is where I work. It's amazing.
There it is. Yeah, lunch break's over, buddy. Back to work.
Thank you so much.
Right on. Thank you both so much.
See you guys.
Bye.
Thanks to all the organizers as well. Appreciate it so much. Thank you for what you do.